Hi there! In today's video I'm continuing my Rust website project that I started in the previous video. So previously I created this website in Rust that prints out this table of a shopping cart. And how I create this shopping cart is with this shopping cart struct that I created. And then I created this new function, add function, calculate total function, and render function. And I also created this product struct that has a name, price, and a quantity. And I implemented a new method for this. So we can create it based on the name, price, and quantity. And then in my main.rs, I can call cart equals shopping cart new. And then I can say cart add, and I can create a new product and add it to the cart. And another product and add it to the cart. And then I can calculate the totals and I can create the HTML for the cart and then very beautifully print out the HTML, which will then be rendered on the page. So in today's video, I would like to make it so that I can have a form here where I can add new products to the cart. Just like this demo that I made earlier off camera. So here I can add something and some price here and some quantity. And add to cart, and it will be added to the cart and the totals will be calculated. So let's do this. So what I will do is I will go to the shopping cart struct, and in the implementation I will create a render function for the form. Now I might want to create another struct for the form, but for now I will just create a render function that will return a string of the HTML of the form. So I'll say pub fn render form, and it will return a string. Now it would probably be nicer if we could have some template file where we could read the form from, because it's going to be HTML and it's not really going to change much. So maybe I can just say fs read to string, and I can get it from somewhere. Templates / add to cart form.html. And then I could create here another folder called templates. And here I could create a new file called add to cart form.html. And here I could create the form. Okay, so here is my form. I have an input for a name and for a price and for a quantity and an add to cart button. And I added the action to be / add to cart and method to be post. So now if I do this and then I go to my main.rs, I can add here let form equal cart render form. And then I can do exactly what I did here with the cart HTML. I can just add here form as str. And if I compile this again, I get an error. Let's see what is the error. I forgot to import fs. So I have to go here and I have to say use stdfs. Let's run this again. And mismatched types string, but we got a result. I forgot that this is going to be a result. So we will say, I will just add here expect hard-coded template file exists, because this file should exist. Now the server will crash if this file does not exist and we try to render the form. So perhaps I could say something like unwrap or, and then say here something like template file not found. So this would be actually shown on the page if we don't have this template file. So maybe that is better. So let's do that and let's run it again. And we get some more errors. Mismatched types again, because this has to be as string, because this is a string slice, but we want to return a string. And we have some more errors. As string, is this because I used the curly braces? Do they do something in there? No. Then I have to say to owned. Okay, that solved it. No method named render form for struct shopping cart. This is an associated function, not a method. Perhaps because I did not pass in a reference to self. Let's see if that will work. Yes, now we are running. Now I get this warning because I have this total calculation, but I'm not printing the total on the site currently. But let's see if I refresh this. Now we have an add to cart form. That is great. I will add some sort of H2 in here, or H3 for add to cart. And actually, I think I don't have to compile it because it will read it always. So now I have a form. Now I will disable autocomplete. So now we should be able to add something here and add to cart. Of course, now it says path not found when we post to add to cart. So let's fix that. Let's go to our main.rs, and the first thing I will do is I do not like this massive indentation here because we have all this boilerplate code here. So I will move this into its own file and I will create a struct around it. Not sure if that's a good way of doing it, but I think it's pretty good. So I will call this shopping cart page and render. And then I will create a new file called shoppingcartpage.rs. And I will create a public struct shopping cart page. And and this actually doesn't have any structure, but I think I still have to define it. And then I will implement shopping cart page. And I will create public function render, which will return a string. And then I will pass everything in here. So now I don't have to have so much indentation, and I don't have to have all the code on this file. Now, do I need something from the other scope in here? I do not right now, because this returns the response text. Now, I have these headers here, so I should pass the headers in here, but currently I don't need to change the headers. So let's figure that out later. So let's save that and save this. And then I have to say mod shopping cart page so that I will actually load that file. And I will say use create shopping cart page. And I think that's everything. So let's run this again. And I have some errors. Similarly named. Failed to resolve use of undeclared type shopping cart. Aha. So I have to move this use statement from this file to the shopping cart page file. And let's run it again. And now we are running it. Let's see if it still works. Refresh, and everything still works just fine. That's great. So what else do we have here? Now I could do the same thing with the style, but I'm not going to do that yet. Now I want to add another route here, which will be a post route, which will go to add to cart. And then I will create some sort of shopping cart controller. And I will say add to cart. Now what are we adding to cart? We should give this the post content. Now if you take a look at the tiny HTTP libraries documentation, here we have turning user input, post input, into a contiguous UTF-8 string, not implemented yet. So let's implement it. So there will be in the request a body. So I will pass in the request body to this. So I will say request.body. I think it was this way. And I will pass it only as a reference because I do not have to modify it. And I might want to use it later on. So let's create another mod shopping cart controller. And new file shopping cart controller. And we will say public struct shopping cart controller. Now again, this does not have any structure, so I will just implement it. And I will have a public function add to cart, which will take the request body and return a string. Now what is the request body? Let's go to the documentation of TinyHTTP, and I have somewhere here the request. Here we have request, and the request will have a method called body somewhere. No, it is called asReader, which returns a read struct. So this is how we do it. We have to create a new string, which is mutable, and then pass it to request asReader read to string, and then pass it in here, and then unwrap that. Okay, now should I just pass in the request? I think it has to be mutable in that case. Or should I just get the body every time and then just pass it as a string? Let me do that. I think I have to add this as mutable because asReader will mutate it. So I will have to say let mutable request body equal string new. And then I will say request.asReader.read to string, and I will pass in, I think it was as a mutable reference, the request body. And this will return a result. So if something goes wrong in reading the request, then it will throw an error. So I should do something like match request as reader to OK. Now I'm not sure what I'm doing here because I don't actually have to use the result from this. But I would not like the server to crash if I'm not able to read this. But will it ever fail? What is the reason for its failure? So I'll just use unwrap. And I probably have to do something like underscore equals that, because otherwise it will complain that I am not using the response from this. So we are reading the request body into a request body string. And then I will add it to the add to cart method. So I will say request body. So now in the shopping cart controller, in the add to cart method, we get the request body, which will be a string. Now we have to parse the request body. Now let's first just return the request body. So we see if this works and see what is in there, what we have to parse. So let's run this and let's fix the errors. So I just forgot to use the shopping cart controller. Let me know in the comments, is there a way that I don't have to use two different lines here to import from another file? And let's run this again. And I forgot to say that this is going to be a reference to a string. Can we return a reference? Yes, we can. No, we cannot. So I have to explicitly say that this is a reference to a string. Expected string found reference string. What? Okay, so I have to either clone it or I just have to pass it as a string. Now, when I do this, then this will swallow this request body and I cannot use it later. But technically I don't need to, because it only will be ran in one of these routes. So I will just pass it as the whole thing. And after that I cannot use it later. And I'm not using it, so that's fine. Okay, we are running. Let's refresh and let's send something. Add to cart. Okay, so now we get this from the request. Now I just have to parse this. Now, in the example that I showed you, I did the parsing myself. Now, it's not super difficult to do it, but I wonder if there is some Rust crate that can actually do this already. Let's see. Rust parse query string. Query string parses a given query string back into a vector of key value pairs. That is great. Queryfy, stringify. So let's do that. Cargo add query string, and then in the shopping cart controller I will say use query string queryfy. Was it this way? Queryfy, yes. So then I can say let post data equal queryfy request body. Now what does this return? It takes a string slice and it returns a query params struct. So a vector of a query param. Okay, so here you can see they're actually using the lifetimes properly. You should learn to do that. So I need to pass this as str. Now I guess this should be a string slice already, not a string, but let's worry about that a bit later. So this will be a query params struct, a type, query params type, so it is already a vector. Okay, I did not know about these types in Rust. So I guess I should be able to do something like for param in post data, and then that will be a query param, which is also a type of a tuple with, okay, so then I can say let key value equal param. So this should destructure, is that the word you use, the parameters into a key and a value. And then let's say let mute HTML equal string new. And then let's say HTML push str key value. And then I will return the HTML. And there's probably some error in this one, but let's see, because this is now a slice. So I guess I can say to owned. and this is a slice, and this is a slice, so that should work. Let's run it. And we are downloading some crate. And I forgot to add a semicolon and expected. Okay. So again, I have to add this as a reference. And then I can run it. And now it is running. Okay. This is terrible. This is wrong. Do not do this. And let me know in the comments, how should I do this? Please. Thank you. So let's take a look at add to cart now. Name, price, quantity. Okay, now I get them. That is great. So how do I then extract them into some variables? Now I can do something like this. I can say match key to name, and then name equals value. And then if it is quantity, then quantity equals value. And if it is price, then price equals value. Now I have to create these variables before I go into this loop, because I think if I do like this, then it is not going to be available after this loop, because we are in the scope of this loop. So what I have to do is I have to say let name equal string new. Now this is a thing that I'm not quite sure how to do it properly. I think this is not the proper way. Again, let me know in the comments how I should do this. And then I can say let quantity equal 0.0 and let price equal 0.0. And in fact, this is not going to be a string, it's going to be just a string slice. And these have to be now mutable, so I can change them. Could I match directly from the post data? I have no idea how to do that. But this way I can do it. Now, the name value will be a string slice already, so that's fine. But then the quantity cannot be a string slice. It has to be a float. So what I can do is I can say to string, and I can say parse. I'm not sure if I have to say to string. Maybe a string slice can be already parsed into a float. But parse returns a result, not the value directly, because the parse can fail. If this is like a string of letters, then it will fail, because you can't turn a string of letters into a float. So instead of this, I have to match again. So I match this into quantity, and then I will return quantity. Maybe I should change this to parsed, so it makes more sense. So we will match the key to quantity first, and then we will set the quantity, which is this variable over here. We will set that to this, which is match parse the value, which will be this. And if it is okay, then we get the parsed version of the value and we return it into this one, okay? And then if there's an error, then we use underscore, because we don't care about the error. If there's an error, then there's an error. We will do something. We will have to add this error so that we can respond with an error, like the flash card that says quantity is wrong. So we will add flash error, which we have to implement. Now I think maybe we can say continue here, so then it will continue this loop to the next one. And then we have to do the same thing with the price. So the price will also be parsed into the float value. And if there's an error, then we continue. And we should set somewhere here like let mute errors equal vec new. And then here we will add errors dot push, and we will push an error there saying quantity is invalid. And here we will say price is invalid. Now there is one more thing that can happen. Maybe we don't get the value. So in fact, these should be options. Option str. And this will be an option. Sorry, that's not the way you do it. It will be none, none, none. I think Rust compiler will guess that this is an option if I set it to none. But do I then have to say that it is some value? Not quite sure. Some. Or is that automatic? Let's see if that is automatic. So in Rust we have this option type that can be none or some. And then I can check, after I have set all these variables, Then I can check the error if we didn't provide something, because this only checks if the provided thing was wrong, but we never get to this if we didn't get the actual price and quantity. And the name can be empty as well. So then I can say if name is empty or not name is sum, then we will push to the errors. Name is missing. And then we can say if not name is, can I just say none? Is none. Maybe I can do that. Not is sum. Is none. If price is none, then errors push price is missing. If quantity is none, errors push quantity is missing. And there's no parentheses here. And then we can say if errors dot len, which is the length of errors, the amount of errors, the count of errors, number of errors is greater than 0, then we respond in one way, and if it is not, then we respond in another way. So actually I can remove this else statement from here, and if we have errors, then we can respond with the error. We can say for error in errors, html.push str error, and then we return HTML. Otherwise, we should actually add the products to cart. Now, let's just put here right now, HTML push str added to cart. And let's try and compile this and see what happens. Okay, mismatched types, shopping cart controller, none, expected due to this value, expected enum option found string. So can I do this? Is that the way of doing it? Yes, actually, this is the great thing about the Rust compiler. It says, try wrapping the expression in sum. So that's what I'm going to do. Sum. So let's try if that works. Okay, no method named isEmpty found for enum option. That's right, because we have to unwrap it. So if it is none, then name is missing. But here it is not none if it's sum and an empty string. So how do we handle that? If it's none, we say name is missing. Else, if name unwrap is empty, name is missing. Is it safe to do unwrap here? Actually, they used expect here. So I guess that's the proper way of doing it. Expect name is valid option. And then if the thing that is inside sum is empty, then we say name is missing. Great. So cargo run. Type annotations needed for option. Okay. So it did not figure out what is the type of this. And of course, because it doesn't know what the type of this is. So I have to say that this is F64 and price is F64. And I have to say option of type F64. And run it. Pattern not covered. I have to say underscore continue. We don't care about anything else. We are not going to worry about if they pass something more. We don't have to give an error for that, I don't think. So we just skip the others. Use a comma to end a match or expression. Can I do continue without a semicolon? I can. And we are running. So let's see if this works. So if I refresh this, it says added to cart. Now I still am printing the stuff here, so I can remove that and rerun it. Added to cart. So if I go back here and I just send an empty form, price is invalid, quantity is invalid, name is missing, price is missing, quantity is missing. So we have a bit too many of these errors here, because if the price is invalid, we don't have to say that the price is missing. But at least we get the errors. Now I realize because we are continuing in this case, so we are not setting the value of quantity. So actually we can probably just do this, and we don't have to, well, not sure if it's a good thing, but we don't really have to check this because the quantity and price will be none. So we will get an error even if we don't add the error here. But the error is price is missing or invalid. So maybe that is a good thing, maybe it's not. Maybe you want a separate error for when the price is typed incorrectly and when it is missing. So let's try this again. name is missing, price is missing or invalid, quantity is missing or invalid. Okay, that's pretty good. So if we add the name, price is missing, quantity is missing. And if we add the price is missing or invalid, quantity is missing or invalid. But if we add a valid price, quantity is missing. And if we add a valid quantity, added to cart. So now we have successfully implemented checking of errors for this request. Now what should we do next? We should add the product to the cart. Now here's the thing. We have this shopping cart struct here, but this is of course not going to persist during the requests. We can only make one of these during a request and then it disappears. So we need a way to save this on the server. So then we can read it from there again and then add stuff to. So let's create a new folder here called sessions and let's implement some sessions. Now I'm not going to implement proper sessions in this video. I might have said in the previous video that I would do it in this video, but I will do that in the next video. We will implement persistence in this video, but not different persistence from different users. So this will always show the same stuff on any computer that connects. But we will fix that in the next video. Now again, in the example that I showed before, that I built already, I implemented this saving of the shopping cart, the kind of serialization of the shopping cart myself. I just used like some pipe characters and semicolons to save a specific kind of file. But in this project, I would like to try out the serialization and deserialization in Rust, which is provided by some crate. So I can do something like add a derive attribute here, and I can say serialize, deserialize. And I probably have to do it with the product as well. But now this is not a built-in thing. I think this is provided by some crate. Let's see in fact what the Rust compiler will say. Cannot find derive macro serialize in this scope. Okay, well the Rust compiler doesn't know about this because it is an external crate. I think it's done with Serde, serialize. Serde is a framework for serializing and deserializing. That's where the name comes. So how do I do this? Use Serde serialize deserialize. Serialize deserialize. Serde JSON to string point unwrap. Okay, so let's use Serde for this. So I will import Serde and I will say cargo add Serde. And that was very fast. So let's try and run this now. And now we are downloading some crate, Serde and 13 other things. Okay, was it derive? Yes. Cannot find derive macro serialize in this scope. Deserialize is imported here, but it is only a trait without a derive macro. Aha. So what do I have to do? Let's go to docs.rs. Use Serde serialize struct serializer. Do I need all of those things? Probably need deserialize. No deserialize in Ser. It is only a trait. Okay, let's see what Google says of this. Oops. This one. I have to maybe put something in the dependencies. Features derive. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to cargo.toml and I have Serde here. I will add this. And let's try to run this again. We are downloading more crates. Okay, and now we are running actually. So now we should be able to convert our shopping cart into JSON. So let's try and do that. So let's go to our shoppingcart.rs and let's add a method here called public fn to JSON and it will return a string. And I will try to find the docs again. Serde serialize. So this is what we need to do. Serde JSON to string, and then we give it what we want to convert to a string and unwrap. Okay, so I will have to say Serde JSON, and I forgot already, to string, and we should pass self in here. So we say self and unwrap. Now what does this return? Is it a string? It says to string, so I hope it is a string. And we have to import this. So we have to say Serde JSON. And then we of course need to have a from JSON. And now this needs to get a mutable reference to self. And how do I from str? Now what is serialized in this case? Maybe it returns an str. Let's see. So this should say, can I just like set self to something? Can I set it to another, or should... No, this is not the right way. This is not going to take self. This is going to be similar to the new. It will return a self and it will say let cart equal, and then I will do this from str unwrap. Serde JSON from str, and I will pass in the string JSON str. I think it's going to be str because it's from str. And I will pass it the JSON and unwrap. Now here I should check for some errors. Now really I think I should return a result with self and something. I'm not quite sure how this works. So I will do this at the moment. So this will be the cart. And I guess it should be a shopping cart then. So then I just return cart. Is it really that simple? Then I don't have to do this either. I just do that. So let's see if we now go to the controller. Let's just go to the shopping cart page and let's just say here let JSON equal cart.toJSON. And let's just print the JSON here. Let's see if this works. JSON as str. And let's compile this. Serde JSON not found in the room. Well, that's not fun. Or is that a different thing? Cargo add Serde JSON. That's another thing. So how do I use that? Use Serde JSON star. Okay, we're installing something again. And it's running. I did get some warnings because I didn't use from JSON. And I used everything, so maybe I have to say from JSON and to JSON. What was it called? No, it's from string, from str and to string. And let's compile this. Unused imports to string to JSON. Do I even need this thing? I don't need to do that, apparently. Okay, so this is just unused stuff, so let's not worry about that. So let's go to the front page and see if we get a JSON. Look at this. We have products, name, price, quantity, name, price, quantity. Great. So can I take now this JSON and go to shopping cart page, and instead of adding these products here, I will just say shopping cart from JSON, and I will pass in the JSON. Can I do R for unformatted? No, I cannot do. Do I really need to escape all of these? Okay, so this should convert this into a shopping cart struct. Let's see if that works. It actually compiled. And let's refresh, and it's exactly the same thing. So it works. So if I add something here and I run it again, then we added it here. So now we can save this shopping cart to the disk, to the server using JSON. So let's do that. Let's make a method here called load, which will load it from the disk. So let's go to shopping cart and let's make public function load. And what will this do? It will return self, and it will say let cart JSON equal to fs read to string, and we will just hard code for now sessions / session dot text, whatever, and let's create that file here, session dot text. Now I realize that I do have to handle the error from this because this might be empty in the beginning, and I unwrap this. Now I guess I could say that if cart JSON is empty, then I just return a new shopping cart. Return shopping cart new. Otherwise, we will return shopping cart from JSON, cart JSON, and this will be as str. So that should work. Let's test it out. Let's go to shopping cart page, and actually I have load here already. So let's compile this, and it actually compiled the first try. That's great. So refresh and it is empty. Okay, that's good. That's what we want. No errors and it's empty. Well then let's add to the shopping cart controller, let cart equal shopping cart load. So we load the current shopping cart and then we say let product equal product new and we give it the name, price and quantity. And we say cart.add product. And then we will say cart.save. Now we have to implement this save. And whatever we can say added to cart. So now if we go to shopping cart and we implement a save method, popfn save. And what this should do is this should say let cart JSON equal, we have to have a reference to self dot to JSON. And then we need to save this to a file. So we can do something like let mute file equal file open and sessions/session.txt and unwrap for now. And then I have to Google how to write to file Rust. File create, file write all. Okay, create and file.write all cart JSON. And what is that? That is a string slice. So I have to say as str. So that should work. Let's run it. And I forgot the imports again. So this needs to use fs file. And I need to use shopping cart in here. And I need to use product. And let's run it again. No method write all found for file. Method not found in file. What is prelude? Do I need to use that one? Expected slice found str. Slice u8. Okay, so here I have to set this to unwrap, because this is in the sum. Okay, so then I get this. Wanted u8 but found str. How do I convert it to a u8? Write all. It's as bytes. And I get something else. Cannot borrow cart as mutable, as it is not declared mutable. Cart add. So I had to say let mute cart. Okay, and we are running. So we got some warnings here. Unused result. Okay, now we should handle the result, but what is this? We don't have to mutate the cart in that page, and in the shopping cart page we don't need product anymore. Okay, now we have just a total calculation. That's fine. So let's see now. If we go here, we have an empty cart. If I add something here and some price and some quantity, add to cart, added to cart. If I go back and I refresh, now we have the product in the cart and we have the total here. That's great. And we still have this JSON here. So let's remove that JSON from there. And let's recompile this and run it again. So that's there. We can refresh the page and it's still there. And then we can add another product and 10 and quantity 100. Add it to cart. We go back, refresh, and it is there. Now, here we are not URL decoding this, so we get a plus here. Is there a crate for Rust URL decode? URL decoding. Okay, decode. So let's cargo add URL decoding. And when we are in the shopping cart controller, we need to use the decode. And we have to say, how do I decode them nicely? Because I'm using this thing. So maybe I have to do key equals param 0. And I have to URL decode that and let value equal param 1. But how did that work? URL encoding, not decoding, encoding. And then I have to say, just encode. And is this a result or is this just decode? Decode is a result. Expect UTF-8. Okay. So I could do something like match encode. And if it's okay, encoded, sorry, I used decode. decoded. Then we get the decoded. If we get an error, then we will continue. We will skip this parameter. If we are unable to decode it, then we will skip it. We don't want to have malformed content. So value. Okay, and this is param 1. Let's run this and we get an error. We get a bunch of errors. Cannot index into value of type. Is it .0? Yes, .1. And we have something else. Expected enum cow found str. What the hell is a cow? Wait a minute. Name, match, key, decode. Wait a minute. Decode. What does this? Result cow into owned. Okay, so I had to call into owned. That is interesting. So let's run it, and we still into owned as str because we need a string slice. And still it's complaining something. Temporary value dropped while borrowed. Into owned. Well, how do we solve it? Why cannot we have it as str? As to string. No, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And the Rust compiler doesn't like it either. We cannot do that. Into owned. Is there an as str? No. Into owned. Into str. Is there something like this? No. This expression has type std string string. Expected struct std string string found str. Can I do match key as str? Apparently I can. Okay. Unwrap expected string slice found string. Unwrap as str. This is getting too long. Okay. Oh, sorry. This is not str. Parse. I don't want to parse it again. What is the price? The price, I parsed it already here, so this should be fine. Use of moved value name. Name expect is empty. Name unwrap. Can I reference this? I cannot. So apparently if I use name expect, then it will be moved into this scope and then dropped. So then I cannot use it here. Okay, let me disable this for a moment and see if I can then compile this. Yes, I can. So if I now go back to this website and I refresh it, it's still the same because I don't URL decode it after it's saved. But let's see if I say test2 and I put some price and quantity and add to cart and I go back and I refresh, it's still plus. But now I did notice here that it says undecoded plus is preserved literally and not changed to a space. So this wants it to be like %20 for space. But let's see, can I put some special characters here? Name is missing. Name is missing? What? Added to cart. Why is name missing? Added to cart. Now I think this would be URL encoded. So I can add some special characters here. Name is missing. Uh-oh. So we cannot add special characters. Name is missing. That is interesting. So is it unable to decode that? If I do just this, and now it is already, I have to remove this one. So let's try this again. Name is missing still. Is none. Sorry, I have to not decode the value, not the key. So if I do that, and then I recompile this, and now I have the as str in there, which I don't need anymore. It's just name. And these two. No need to unwrap it. Or yes, sorry, not as str. Okay, let's try this again. Refresh, added to cart. So now it is decoded. So the URL decode cannot decode this. Is that correct? Really? Let's print the error. Print ln error. So I will say error in decoding. And let's see. Exclamation point. And let's do this again. Name is missing. invalid UTF-8 sequence of 1 bytes from index 0. Well, that is interesting. Am I not sending this request in UTF-8? That might be the problem. Unable to decode value. Even Chrome cannot decode the value. What? Wait a minute. Let's do a little bit of PHP. Aha! That is very interesting. Let's URL encode. That's what it should be, but it is this. Perhaps it is in the wrong character set. UTF-8 decode. This is deprecated already, but okay. So that's the problem. I have to set this to be UTF-8. So should I do that in here? Char set is UTF-8. Maybe that does the trick. But does that change the encoding that it sends? Let's see. Added to cart. Okay, so that works. And it works now. Okay, that's great. So I had to set the char set as well. So now it works. That is good. And if we check our session, then we have our products in here. So we can remove everything from here and we refresh, then now it's an empty cart. And now if we add something here, this is a test product. Sorry, name is that, added to cart, refresh. So we have to change the pluses ourselves because for some reason they are not decoded by that library. So what can I do? I guess this is going to be a string, so then I can say replace plus with space. Is that correct? Refresh, test product, added to cart, refresh. Okay, now it works. Now the thing about this is that now if I open Firefox and I go to the same URL, then we still have the same products in the cart. So this is not different for everybody. So in the next video, I am going to implement sessions to this website so that if you open it with a different browser or on a different computer or something, then everybody will have their own products in their cart. So we will save a cookie of a session ID to the browser, and then we will reference that session ID on the server to check which cart should be shown. So I hope you enjoyed this video so far, and I hope that you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next video. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.